Sadly enough, in a lot of black families, this is more common. A little girl's first heartbreak will be experienced because of her father. Her father will be the first man that ever breaks her heart, the first man who ever rejects her, the first man who will tell her that he loves her, he'll protect her, he'll never leave her, but then he actually leaves. I remember growing up in elementary school, I was the smallest kid in school. Like, and by small, I mean small in height and also small in weight. I was the skinniest in elementary school. Compared to the other kids, I was really, really small. So sometimes kids would try to bully me because of my stature. And I remember the first fight I got in, I think I was in like 4th or 5th grade, and it was with a boy. Like, even boys would pick on me, but this one boy in particular, he just kept on harassing me. Like, he would sit behind me in music just to kick my chair. Like, so one day we rode the same bus, and one day I was just like, I'm gonna fight you. And he was like, oh, you want me to get off at your stop? And I'm like, yeah. And when he got off, I just started swinging and throwing rocks and everything at him. And then I ran. I ran home to my brothers. Because even though I was small in stature, you're not going to pick on me. You're not going to bully me. You know, I grew up with 4 older brothers who definitely taught me how to defend myself. One of them taught me by bullying me himself, but that's a whole nother story. During that time, I think until I was the age of either 11 or 12, my father was in the house. I was daddy's little girl, you know, and a lot of times I got special treatment and, you know, got things that my brothers didn't get. I remember when my dad used to buy like snacks and cakes and different things, and he would have me in the room with him, and we'll be eating the snacks and the cakes and the candy and stuff, and that was our time that we spent together. One of my brothers still hold on. He still have like a little grudge in his heart because of that. Not really, but it is something that we've discussed even as adults once my father came back into the picture. So speaking of back into the picture, my dad and my mom end up splitting, and my dad left. And when he left my mom, he left us too. You know, for years we didn't hear from him. No calls, no cards, no smoke signals, no nothing. I think I was the age of 11 or 12 when he actually left. And I didn't see him again until I was graduating high school. And I was 17. And during that time, he was supposed to come to my graduation, but because they had a dress code, he couldn't get in because he wasn't dressed right. So my brother ended up taking me to see him, and I remember the next day, my dad had told me the next day he was going to pick me up and spend some time with me, you know, and to make sure he stuck to his word, I gave him my high school diploma to hold on to. Because I wanted to make sure he was going to come back. Because last time he left, he didn't come back until 4 or 5 years later. So needless to say, it never happened. We didn't go out. I didn't spend any time with them. The next time I seen him after age 17, I was 36. I'm only 39, so yeah, 36. My dad just came back into my life at age 36. But I say all that to say this: even though he left, the food didn't. You know, the food didn't leave, and it was the connection that we had was eating, and our crazy, rambunctious, massive sweet tooth is something that my dad passed down to me. And it was how we spent our time together when he was in the house. So once he left, I was heartbroken, like, and I blamed myself because I was close to him, you know. I was close to him, so I'm like, it had to be me to cause him to leave, you know. Like, it had to be me. And I remember growing up thinking that, you know, for a long time. When I was a teenager, I had this crush on this guy, okay? On this young man. I had a crush on him, and he just kept on, like, kept on rejecting me, you know. And he would get other girlfriends and all this stuff. I knew it was because of my weight, and I knew because he was well known in school. You know, I was known in school, but he was way more popular than me. I was known in school because of my brother. My brother was really popular, so I was my brother's little sister. You know, that's how people knew me in school. So that's how I became to know a lot of people. You know, once my brother graduated, I'm like, I have to develop my own identity, you know. But I like this young man, and you know, we had known each other for a long time, even outside of school. Our families were really close and all of that. But he didn't want me, and I knew it was because of my outward appearance, you know, because when we weren't in school and when we was in church, or you know, if I was around his family, it was like a different story. Like, he would show me attention, he would sit by me in church, he would give me hugs and all of that. But in school, it was kind of like, hey, but you know, it was nowhere near as much attention as he would give me in church. But during the time where I had a crush on him, I really didn't pay no attention to that. You know, I was just like, he's cute, you know, I like him, he's nice, he's in church. I'm a see if it works, and it didn't. He ended up talking to this other girl, and he had actually brought her to church, and it crushed me, you know. And it was like my inner low self-esteem, my inner demons had said, you know, your daddy didn't want you. What makes you think that this young boy is going to want you? Your own father didn't want you. And that stuck with me for years, you know. So I'm trying to do this without crying. Hold on. Sometimes you think you're healed from stuff, and it's still like residue there that, you know, God is still working on with me, you know. But so I blame my weight for that, you know. I blame my weight for that. But I still turn to food for comfort, because not only did it never leave me, and you know, sugar is actually just as addictive, or even more. I've heard, you know, I've read through research that sugar is even more addictive than cocaine, you know, because it actually gives you this high type of feeling, you know, after you eat it. And I don't know if that, I'm sure that played a big part in it, because times where I was feeling any type of emotion, like, it was like food was there, you know. If I couldn't celebrate with someone, food was there. If I was bored and no one was around, food was there. If I was mad and I didn't have anyone to vent to, or frustrated, food was there, you know. So that's what I turned to, you know, because it never rejected me. Like, never. It never rejected me. It was always there. No matter what time of night, no matter how early in the morning, it was always there, you know. And that's what I turned to. So after high school, you know, I had one young man that I had talked to in high school, but found out that he had started talking to, and he had went to another high school. So I found out he had started talking to the girl I considered my best friend at the time. Of course, I blame my weight for that because she was smaller than me. Something like that, you know, that had to be it. Like, my weight got blamed for everything, you know. A lot of times we think weight is the problem, but it's actually just an effect of different problems that go on the inside of us, you know. And I've heard so many people say, when they're talking about overweight people, I heard them say like, oh, overweight people always have a sad story to tell, and that's why they're this, that's why they're overweight, and that's why they're fat, and that's why they're obese. But it's the same way with a drug addict or alcoholic. A lot of times something that they've been through, or even a woman or a man who's promiscuous. A lot of times the stuff that they've been through, you never know what they've been through, and they're turning to that to cope, you know. So food was a coping mechanism for me, you know, because it loved me, you know. It loved me, you know. It was always there. It never left me, you know. So after high school, I remember going to Curves, and I'm like, you know, I'm gonna lose this weight and all of this. I went to Curves, and of course they took my measurements to, you know, register me and all this stuff, and I got on the scale and I was 299 pounds when I went to Curves. And being 18 at that size was, it was horrible, you know. It was an embarrassing moment because I got weighed in front of other people, and it took me back to when I got weighed in middle school. You know, they used to weigh you for gym or whatever. And I got weighed in middle school, and my whole class heard my weigh in, and I think I was, it's like 170 pounds then, which for a 7th grader was terribly overweight. But everyone in class heard my weight, and I remember hearing them whisper and hearing them just talk about me, you know. And I remember feeling so horrible, so ugly, like so worthless and all of that, because that's what they see me as, you know, because of my weight. So I started to look at myself through their eyes instead of the eyes of God. You know, I started to look at myself how other people, the mean kids, looked at me, and how the guys that rejected me because of my weight, I started to look at myself how they looked at me, you know, and not look at myself the way God looks at me, you know. So when I got weighed in at Curves, it just took me back to that moment, and I felt the same way, even though the people who was around me was way more encouraging at Curves than the kids were in school, you know. And I remember the associate, she had tried to make me feel better because I was just staring at this scale like, I am a pound from 300 pounds, and I'm 18. And I remember her saying, it's okay, men like, you know, meat on their bones. men like girls with me, you know, and all of that. And I was just, it didn't make me feel any better because I'm like, no, they don't. Men don't like this because I've been rejected all my life, you know, so that's not the truth. You're lying to me, you know, even though I know she tried to make me feel better, it was a lie to me because I had experienced being rejected over and over and over again. And of course, every time I blamed my weight for that, you know. So I ended up not joining that gym because I was just too embarrassed. And then I didn't like the way their fitness program was either. Like, I wanted to be able to go to the gym whenever I wanted to, work out as long as I wanted to, and all of that. So I ended up doing things on my own, and I went low carb and lost a lot of weight doing low carb. And then my brother Maurice, he had wanted to become a certified personal trainer. So I told him, I said, well, use me and practice on me, show me how to lift and all of that. You know, I got the cardio down, but I need to know how to lift. And working with him, he got me from 299 to 219, which was at my lowest adult weight. And he got me to that. And then when he ended up passing away, it's like I didn't want to step foot in the gym again. I didn't want to. It was kind of like I felt that he kind of rejected me too, because it was some things I felt he left me too. He was another man that left, you know. Even though I know it wasn't his fault, you know, he was murdered. But it was just like, dang, you left me too. You know, so it was just, the seed of rejection was just embedded in me. Deep. You know, and I still battle it now. I'm better with dealing with it because I really had, you know, I really have a close relationship with God, so it's easier to deal with, you know, and I'm dealing with it better, but it's still a process because it was embedded in me for so long, you know. So after he had passed away, I ended up gaining some of the weight back. I didn't get back to the 299 during that time, but I did end up gaining some of the weight back. And then I got into my relationship with my son's father. And when I got pregnant with my child, and I had lost my job. I had lost my job and ended up getting pregnant. And because I was so, my son's father was like, well, I don't want you really going to work. Just let me work, and I want you just to focus on bringing a healthy child into this world. But I was so used to being independent. I was so used to being able to come and go as I pleased. And him and I, we were head to head during the time, and just a lot of stress and worries and anxiety. Because I'm becoming a new mom, and then I'm picking up weight. Like every time I went to the doctor, I was picking up crazy weight. And where they thought I had preeclampsia that was causing like water retention and swelling, my blood pressure was crazy high. It was just, It was such a depressing time, and I was trying to stay as happy as possible because I didn't want those feelings transferred to my unborn child, you know. But it was hard, you know. And his father and I ended up splitting while I was pregnant. I was 6 months pregnant. We ended up splitting. I had gotten up to, I know I hit 400 pounds because after I had my son, that at my 6 weeks checkup, I was 369. So I know while I was pregnant with him, I had to hit 400 pounds. And of course, now I am carrying this child. I'm by myself. His father had moved on with someone else. Of course, I blame my weight for that too. It was just another rejection, you know. Like, I'm carrying your child and you're in a relationship with somebody else. And it was so fast because we broke up when I was 6 months, and by the time I was giving birth, he was with someone else. So, and I don't hold it against him because I know he was trying to find himself, and it was a lot within that too. That's a whole nother story. But I blame the weight then, and it was just another seed of rejection planted in me. And it started my roller coaster of a diet. Like, I would lose, I would gain. I would lose, I would gain. I would lose, I would gain. Now, going from 299 pounds to the 219, it seemed like it was so easy. You know, it was just falling off. What people was asking me, you on drugs? Like, it was just falling off. But after I had my son, it was so hard to lose. It was just like, I would get to this certain amount, I would gain. I would get to this certain amount, I would gain. I got down to like 250 and then end up gaining all the weight back. And I didn't go back to the 269, but that's how, I didn't go back to the 369, but that's how I end up getting to the 352, which started my VSG journey. A couple of years ago, I had went for VSG surgery before this time. This is actually my second time going for the surgery, and actually my first time going through with it, of course. But the first time was in like 2015 that I had went for it. Things have changed so much since then. Like, all these classes and stuff that you have to take now, they didn't make me take that. I did have a couple appointments with the nutritionist, and then had to do my psych evaluation. I had to do a physical. But all this blood work and nutritional classes and all of that, I didn't have to do any of that then. I had got approved for everything within like a month, and they was ready to give me the surgery. But I allowed people to talk me out of it, which is why this time I didn't tell anybody until really the last minute. Because I didn't want anyone to talk me out of it. And the ones that I told you can't talk me out of it. You know, you can't tell me not to do it. Just pray. You know, pray that if it's not God's will, that it won't be done. That's all I'm asking for you to do. You know, but the first time I just allowed them to cause me to fear the surgery and not take that step, which there's good in everything. You know, it was a good thing because a lot of stuff that I know now, I wouldn't have known then, you know, and I probably wouldn't have been as successful on it as I have been. And mind you, I said successful, not perfect, okay? Perfection does not equal success. Your strength and your ability to get up when you fall, that's what equals success. But So yeah, during that time, you know, and I was kind of mad at myself for allowing people to do that, because I'm like, dang, I would have been so far. So I ended up getting up to, I had got down to 250, and I ended up getting back up to the 300s. After that, I did not weigh for real until I was trying to diet again. It was just like a up and down roller coaster. Like, it was a lot. So fast forward to this time, I wasn't feeling that good in my body. I was dealing with a lot of headaches and stuff, and I thought it was just my sinus pressure or whatever. So I decided to set up an appointment with my primary care, and that's when I found out that I had high blood pressure. And he put me on high blood pressure medication, and that's when I asked him, because I knew it was weight related, and he confirmed that. And then I found out also that I was pre-diabetic. Which I also knew that was weight related. So I talked to him about, you know, the lap band. That's what I was going for at first. And he thought it would be a good idea for me. And so, you know, I was excited that he was ready to write my referral and all of that. He's like, I think that will be good for you. So I set up to go to the first initial class where they actually tell you about the 3 surgeries or 2 surgeries that are offered. I found out by going to the class that they didn't do lap band. Lap band was like aged out, so they stopped doing lap bands. All they did was the vertical sleeve gastrectomy and the gastric bypass. So I went to the class and everything, and I was just so like, I'm going to do this, you know, and I just prayed and like, God, if this is not for me, then, or if it's going to be life-threatening or anything, you know, that's not going to be beneficial to me, then don't allow the surgery to happen. So everything went so smoothly. So it's like I knew, it was like God was confirming that it's for you, you know. So went through with the surgery, and that brings me here today. What my bariatric surgeon and everybody who's under her that I end up working with told me was, you're going to be successful on this journey, which I am. You're going to be off of high blood pressure medication, which I am. You're going to be out of the pre-diabetic range, which I am. You know, but what they didn't tell me is, just because you lose weight doesn't mean you're not going to deal with your insecurities. And just because you lose weight doesn't mean you're not going to not deal with the pain of rejection anymore. Just because you lose weight, it's not going to make you feel like you're more wanted. You know, you're more acceptable or accepted. It's not going to bring you full happiness. It'll bring you health, which will help increase your happiness, but it's not the answer to everything, because the weight is not the problem. At all, the weight is not the problem. The weight is the effect of the problem. And rejection was the problem, you know, and that's what caused me to turn to food. So because I know that now, that's something that I work on, and I have to realize that everybody is not for me, you know. Everybody can't be connected to my life. Everybody can't go through every season of my life with me. Some people are only for a season, and then some people will be there for the rest of your life. And then there's some new people that God will bring in your life that's just for that season, you know. So just because people leave, it doesn't mean they're rejecting you. A lot of times it's God rejecting them from your season, because it's places He want to take you through too, that where they can't go. Because either they'll sabotage it or they'll be a leech and they'll drain you, you know. So now that I realize that, it empowers me more. And even though now I find myself not even allowing myself to be rejected, because I don't even open the door to give people room to reject me. It's like, if and I was always the type, like, even though I hate how I feel when someone don't want me, you know, it's still, I never lost hope in someone is going to want me. You know, I never lost that hope. I love, you know, I want to experience real, true love where I'm giving it and it's being given back, you know, in abundance with the way that I'm giving it. I want to experience that. I want to experience marriage and a family and having my own little family traditions within my household, you know. So rejection hasn't caused any fear with that, but it's made me a little standoffish with things, you know. And if I feel like I'm not getting what I'm putting out, then I take a step back. It don't matter who it is, you know. So, but that's my story. That's where I'm at today. And my story is still being written, you know. It's still being written. So, yeah.